Hi, everyone. I am so excited today to introduce Scott Whitley of C12 Western North Carolina today. I'm proud to say Scott is one of my friends, and it's been a joy to just get to know you over a year now, right? Like it's been well over a
Yes.
year, I think. And I'm just excited for you to share a bit of your heart and what you're passionate about and your mission and how finding the right support for you has helped you in that mission work. So, Scott, I'll let you take it from here. If you could just introduce yourself and share a bit about what you do and what you're passionate about.
Oh, great. Well, as you mentioned, I'm Scott Whitley. I am the principal chair with C12 in Western North Carolina. And I've been with C12 now since 2019, actually, as a chair. I was a member before that as an executive in a financial services firm that was actually based out of St. Petersburg, Florida. But we're here in Western North Carolina in the beautiful mountains just outside of Asheville. And yeah, it's been a journey. I've been one of those people who, for the most of my career, was in the executive type of role to where you have a lot of support people and such as that. But as I came into C12, it's a different world. You are an independent contractor running a very small business, working with a lot of different moving parts. And if you're not careful, you can get overwhelmed and really caught up in the minutia of actually doing what it is that you need to do. So for the first several years, I operated pretty much as a solo practitioner. I brought on some additional chairs to help grow and expand a territory, but find myself doing things I really shouldn't do. And part of my executive coaching, what I received when I was going through, and what I share with other people, is looking at making sure you're using the highest and best use of your time. And I did this with financial advisors by asking them to calculate what their hourly rate wages were, and come to find out their hourly rate wages are pretty high. And then
Yeah.
I'm asking them, track the time that you're spending, and find out where you are spending your time, and is that earning equal to what your hourly wage would be. And many times you find that you're doing silly, simple little administrative tasks that need to be done, but
Hmm.
certainly can be done by someone else that you could bring in alongside of you. So I'm thinking, okay, this is what I've been preaching for several years with advisors, and also now with business executives and such as that. I need to practice what I preach. So I found myself really just kind of getting caught up in my own little whirlwind of doing things that I really should be doing something else that would be a much more effective use of my time than spending it doing these tasks that I
Hmm.
really like to get somebody else to do. So that's where VAUSA came into the picture.
So, how long have you been a C12 chair for?
I've been a C12 chair since 2019. Matter of fact, I started my first table, in January of 2020. Perfect timing.
Great timing. I, I feel like Scott. It's just um, we'll get more into some of these challenges you face, but and I know we're laughing about it. It's actually no laughing matter. I feel like God God has called you to this work, and I would love for you to share why did you start this journey to begin with? Why did you make this decision to become a chair, and why do you feel like you're being called to do it to begin with?
Now that's a bit of a story, but I had been in the financial services business. I started in 1989. Became a financial advisor, then moved to a branch manager, then moved to an independent contractor with another firm. Then from there, I shifted into the corporate side, became a recruiter for that firm, And then I kind of went up through this, I guess, corporate ladder that I didn't anticipate even climbing. But through that period of time, you know, I was I was in the world, so to speak, in the capital markets and investment world, and managing, people who are managing people's money and such as that. So through all that process, you just kind of get caught up in yourself, and you get caught up in material things and things that really don't matter. But we moved to the Asheville, North Carolina area in 2010. And at that juncture, I started being discipled by a gentleman here in town who was a building contractor. He built homes. They're custom homes.
Mhm.
So we were thinking about building a home. We hired him as a contractor, and as a result of that, we developed just a wonderful relationship where he really did pour into my life and help my faith grow as a result of that. He was a tremendous man of faith. We started a home church together. We did a lot
Wow.
of ministry together. Um, and through that, I really came to this point in my career that God has called me to do something besides what I was doing. And there was just this point that it was made clear to me that I needed to leave the corporate world and to go back into the private sector and start a firm that was really for Christian financial advisors. So we built this firm. We accumulated, or I should say, we recruited some people to it. We actually purchased some practices and such as that. The firm grew very quickly, very rapidly. But to help me stay grounded, I learned about this thing called C12. And I thought to myself, if I am a Christian business leader leading other Christians in this marketplace, which is a world that I've never operated for before, I really needed to get some guidance, some counsel from other people who are like-minded,
Mm.
other executives and other businesses. So I joined C12. I was a member of C12. That was back in 2016, 2017, and it is remarkable to be around a table of, 11 other people who are just like you, who are running businesses, trying to figure out how to manage systems and processes and people, and talking about all the things that really matter, but also more importantly things that had eternal significance
Mhm.
and can really pour in the lives of your employees and their families, and your customers and their families, and really into the community. What
Mhm.
makes a Christian business a Christian business. So I learned so much through that process. And I thought in the back of my head, one day that might be me. That maybe I should be a C12 chair. Well, unbeknownst to me, that opportunity came up a little earlier than I anticipated. The firm that I started was a partnership, and I was going in one direction, and some of my partners were really leaning in a different direction, and mine was clearly a Christian advisory firm. And that's what I felt God called me to do, and they felt they needed to go in a different direction, so they came to me with an offer to really buy out my interest, which
Mm.
I accepted. And I said, well, God, what is it that you're calling me to do? And clearly he pointed me in this direction. So here I am, 2019. I joined C12 as a chair a year after I had joined. The gentleman who was currently managing, at that time, managing the Western North Carolina territory was looking for a successor. He was looking to retire. So I became that person and took over as the principal chair in 2021.
Wow. Wow. So, in your journey since then, you know, looking back, if you were to tell yourself one thing, now that you've done this and you've been through a lot, um, what would you tell yourself then?
Um, hmm, interesting. I don't know. Um, it might have been that step from corporate world to the private sector. I think was important. Um, and I don't think I should have skipped that step. And of course, if I didn't go through that step, I would not have been introduced to C12.
Mhm.
But you know, I could have maybe, if I went back in time, say, you know what, just go straight from the corporate world to C12. Many of our chairs, that's where they came from. They've come from the corporate sector and the
Mhm.
C-suite, and that they've left their corporate careers. If you're familiar with any of Bob Buford's books, like Halftime or
Mhm.
Finishing Well,
I think I
this is
have
kind
it
of that
right
principle.
there.
Yeah, absolutely. That's kind of this principle is you've lived a life of possibly substance, and you kind of look back at your life and think, there really has to be more to this than just things, you
Mhm.
know. And I came to that decision and really understood that there is a greater purpose for my life.
Mhm.
And all of my life's experiences and such as that have really uniquely, I guess, put me together to do what I'm doing.
Mhm.
And this is a I guess you could call it like a twilight career to a certain extent, but this is truly, where I want to spend the rest of my life because I can see, the fruit that this produces. I have, impact and I have relationships that go way beyond just talking about business. It's
Mhm.
talking about
Mhm.
life. It's talking about family and marriage. It's talking about their walk with Christ and
Mhm.
their discipling others and those kind of things that when we're all dead and gone, really have significance and meaning that have kingdom impact. So
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
gets me juiced. That really gets me charged up, and I'm glad to be doing that.
Mhm. So I'm a C12 member as well, and I have been since 2021. And I look at my chair as he's a shepherd to our group. And so I think of all of our C12 chairs and the C12 chair community as good shepherds, trying to guide and provide and love their members, and especially through hard seasons. As a business owner, we can't, um, during hard and challenging times, go to our team to lift us up. We have to get that from somewhere else. It's our job to be the strong ones for our team, um, but we're human and we need to, tap into a source of strength beyond us. And so to me, my forum is one of those sources. Of course, my relationship with God, but I need those other pieces of iron around me to sharpen me. So I say that to say, you're shepherding your people. Um, and you not only, I mean, you became a chair in 2019. Right after that, COVID hits. And I know what that did for my business. I know what that did for so many of my clients' businesses, which greatly impacted my business. And here you are in this basically new career for you, and you have all these business owners that you're trying to shepherd, and they're all going through their own form of crisis. And then recently, we had the horrible storms that devastated your area, and I know greatly impacted your members as well.
Mm.
I mean, it's traumatic, and that was a big crisis. So you've gone through, and those are only the two big ones that I really know of. Of course, there are other things happening, of life that are, I would say, more normal, throughout. But those two major crises, um, that's a lot to go through and to walk through, and to be the shepherd in those situations for your members. I would love to hear, I know you're not even North Carolina is not out of the woods by any means for this situation. Y'all are still walking through that. So I'm just curious to know What has that been like to be walking through two extremely hard situations, and most recently this one? And how are you managing that with your people?
Right. Well, let's go back to COVID in 2020, and I will tell you, we were all we didn't know what was happening. We didn't have really good information. We thought that the world was ending. There were so many different things that were going on. Um, C12 meets on a monthly basis, and we meet with our members. As you're being a member, you're well aware, for a full day. And boy, imagine spending a full day on Zoom doing what we're doing right now.
Mhm.
But that was the world as we knew it. But the importance of us being there is, you know, as you said, you're a believer. We all know that there are things in this world. There's the evil principalities that we're
Mm.
having to battle all the time, and one of his greatest strategies is isolation.
Yep.
So here we are in a world where stay at home. Don't go anywhere. Don't see anybody. Don't talk with one. And by all
Mm.
means, do not, be in
Even
the same
churches
room or
churches
touch someone.
closing down. Yep.
Absolutely. So, the world is shut down as we know it, but business continues. So, what we were doing during that time is meeting on Zoom and talking about, sharing information, sharing ideas, praying for one another. It is that, as you said, you've got to find your strength from somewhere, because when you're leading, you're alone at the top.
Yep.
And it can be a very lonely job. And your team is looking to you for guidance, and they're looking to you for direction, and what your vision is, and their encouragement, and all these things. And you're sitting there going like, yeah, I need that too.
Yeah.
So it was wonderful going through that period of time and just hearing others' experiences and hearing what others were what they were learning, and how they were operating, and all these interesting things that the government was throwing their ways,
Mm.
and uh, these different loan programs. Just there was so much information. It's almost hard for one person to disseminate and understand and get
Right.
clarity, and make decisions. So the forums were different, but the forums were incredibly impactful and important. So, we navigated through that time, that storm together,
Mm.
which I think was very helpful, as we continue to run into whatever storms come our way. Um, and those storms can be as simple as, I don't know, interest rates and inflation going like gangbusters, and hard to find people to hire because unemployment rates are so low. And you know,
Mhm.
these are the storms that we navigate and try to think through. Okay. And then there's those storms like what we endured back in September with Helene.
Mhm.
Um, that storm took this area by complete surprise.
Yeah.
Um, I've got C12 members who, they woke up the next morning and their buildings were gone.
Mm.
They're virtually shut out of business. We went through a period of time to where there was no means of communication.
Yep.
There was no electricity. There was no telecommunications at all. All of wires had been cut, and cell phone service was gone. We literally were thrust back into the late 1800s.
Mhm.
Um, it was impossible to get out and go anywhere. But just by the grace of God, and the loving communities that are all around the nation, resources started pouring into this area like crazy. And you see businesses supporting their employees, searching and finding, and finding out how they're doing, and then providing whatever they can do. And we've had I mean, trucks of food and water and clothing, and we have people across the nation who are bringing campers and mini homes and all that kind of stuff into the area for people who have lost their homes. And in fact, last week we were blessed with Donald Trump coming and being in one of the hardest hit areas, which is just right across the mountain from me in Swannanoa, and encouraging and promising resources. One of those agencies that got hit pretty hard is an agency that's a support agency called ABCCM. And they have a facility called the Veterans Headquarters, which is located in Swannanoa. And the whole bottom floor of that was underwater. So it has been completely gutted. All the veterans that were being housed there have been completely displaced. We're trying to work toward solutions of putting that back together. But there's just it's again it's a cooperative process that you're seeing this community, the business community, the church community, all the various agencies and such as that are coming together to really help us get back to where we need to be. And thankfully, we are. I would say at this juncture, 75 to 80% back to normal. But that last 20% is going to take years. It's going to take years to get that back. And unfortunately, our area of the country is heavily reliant upon tourism. And one of the seasons, which is one of the favorite seasons of people to come here, is in the fall. So, of course, our fall was completely erased. We've got, companies, restaurants, hotels that suffered tremendously. You may have heard the Biltmore Village, the historic Biltmore Village, is decimated. And many of those buildings are no longer there. The restaurant owners and store owners and such as that are not coming back. So there's lots of devastation. In fact, the where you and I met, that restaurant, the Grand Bohemian, was the first floor was completely underwater. So that's it's just going to take time. But we are resilient, and we know that this area is a blessed area. You can just look around and see God's beauty all over the place, and we know that we will get back and we will be better.
Thank you for sharing that. I think with all the just the news and the media, with so much happening in the world and in our country right now, you don't really hear people talking a lot about North Carolina and the recovery efforts, and that's not being talked about as much, but it still very much needs to be talked about, and people can't forget. Especially like you said, that area relies so heavily on tourism. Like, we need people going there and spending their dollars to help with that recovery. I think that would, you know, be one of the ways that if you can't physically help go and do something, or make a huge financial donation, just come visit and spend some tourism, spend some of your dollars there and help that area financially. And you have a choice. You could go there or you could go to Orlando. Like, who who needs your money the most right now? And the people of North Carolina need that. And Disney is doing just fine. Like, we don't need to give our dollars there. So, um, but anyway, thank you for sharing that. I want to segue this to talking about getting support. You are leading these forums. You have all of these business owners that are looking to you for support and guidance and facilitation, and you're coaching them, and you're having to pour into them and support them and all of their struggles with business ownership, that's a lot of weight. Um, and it's a lot of logistics involved with coordinating all of these forums and these meetings with people one on one. And I mean, you're running this business, as a solopreneur essentially. So, at what point? You mentioned it earlier. There was a point you're like, okay, I'm advising everyone else that they need to delegate and that they need help, and I need to walk the walk and practice what I preach. So, you got connected with VAUSA. Tell me about that journey and what that's been like for you after making that decision, and where you're at now today with having that support.
Well, the initial search, of course, there's a lot of different organizations that are out there that are similar to VAUSA. In fact, I would tell you before I engaged with VAUSA, I'd actually attempted to do this on my own with a virtual assistant that was someone who worked with a marketing agency that we were at that point were using to do some of our social media. Um, it didn't work so well. And part of the reason it didn't work so well was because of having, a defined process and having systems and having, something that we could a track we could really follow. We went through a pretty extensive interview process. And when I'm saying that, it was VAUSA interviewing me, not me doing anything. They were wanting to understand me and how I'm wired and what my strengths were, what my places I struggle and the things that I needed. And I mean, I I've never been through quite as extensive a process as that. But the good news is that after all
Hey,
the pain and suffering that I had to go through,
Scott, we also just want to make sure you weren't crazy, okay?
yeah, 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 it was. Well, yeah, I think you might have missed that one, but I kind of I jokingly say all the pain and suffering I went through was deliberate and purposeful because
Mm,
the end result is they understand more who I am, how I work, and
mm,
and what I'm needed, and then they were able to go out and find a couple of candidates that they just said, here are two people, we'd like for you to do an interview with them, see what your chemistry's like, and if neither one of those two seem to fit, then we'll continue the search. But I mean, they hit it out of the park on the first shot. The person that they gave me was new to VAUSA, but they knew who she was. They knew what her personality traits were and everything, and her strengths, and it was just a perfect marriage. So that was boy, I can't tell you how much that was worth. But then, as I shared with you, years ago, I guess, or last year, I said, I wasn't looking for someone who I could just assign tasks to.
mhm,
I mean, that's relatively simple. I was looking for someone to come in and be more of a strategic support partner, someone who understood what we did, appreciated what we did, understood me, and can go and pull things from me and take things from me, and honestly hold me accountable
mhm,
on certain things. So uh, I've shared with a lot of people, you can look at this two different ways. One, just being, a taskmaster, or someone who is, an integral part of what your practice would be. And
mhm,
and I definitely wanted the latter. And we have had such a wonderful working relationship. And we've got so many God stories to tell, but I've got to share this one because it was very specific to what I just shared with you with uh, the
mm,
hurricane that came through. Now, my virtual assistant's name is Kristen, and she is located in Florida, so she's used to hurricanes and storms and such as that. The day after the storm, She said that she did not sleep that entire night because she was concerned about us.
Mhm.
She was not able to get in touch with me. So she was genuinely concerned. Once we were finally able to get in touch with one another, she immediately started reaching out to all my members and finding out how they're doing. And she was on this. I don't say 24/7, but I mean, she was relentless just to make sure that everyone is okay. If she needed to do anything for them, to reach out to their families, let them know that is okay. That they need anything. I mean, she went so far above and beyond what the
Mm.
call of duty would be. I how else I couldn't have done this.
Yeah.
We couldn't have survived quite as well as we did without that kind of support. And it's not just me giving her stuff. It is her seeing a need and seeing something that she can add value to and doing, just on her own. And it's just I you know
Mhm.
I can't say her praises enough. It is just so invaluable to us.
Mhm. Well, her values are aligned, with yours, and she's invested in you personally, and I think that's a big difference maker. When I talk to business owners all the time, not just my clients, but in general in my network, and they'll tell me, um, it's hard to imagine paying that much money for your services when I know I could hire someone in the Philippines for like a few bucks. And I said, you can't even compare. We're apples and oranges. We're not hiring someone, just like you said, as a task rabbit, just to do a task behind the scenes. We're hiring for someone who is willing, one is completely aligned with your values, but is excited about your mission and your vision and what you want for your organization and for your life, and they want to be a part of it. They don't want to just be sent a task list. They want to know that they're a part of your team, and they're going to help you because they care about you, but they also care about the mission and what you're doing, what God's put the calling on your life, and they want to be a part of that. I think um, that just makes a world of a difference, like you said, because you had that crisis, and like, she was not obligated to respond in the way that she responded. That was coming from her heart.
Yes.
Um, so, you know, I would love to know what that was a great example, but if you're thinking about the impact that you're able to make now and what difference that has made for you, um, how has having that support been able to what change has that made for the impact that you're able to make, either showing up in your life personally or towards the business, or both?
Oh, um, tremendous impact. I mean, I so being a C12 person, you understand this concept of balance wheel and where your balance is and how much time you're spending places and where those places are that you're not spending time. So the places that have neglected for years have been, my own personal fitness and nutrition, my fun and recreation, and rest and retreat.
Mhm.
And the reason those is because there's 24 hours in the day.
Mhm.
Uh, I don't have the time to do all the things I need to do. So what do? You neglect you.
Yeah.
So that having
Or your
her.
spouse or your family.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Uh, but having her has allowed me to get my time back
Mhm.
and be able to do things that I need to do to recharge my own batteries, and things that I need to do to pour into my own, like you said, my spouse and our family and such as that, doing fun and recreation and feeling that I don't have to be here to have these things done because I have someone else who is helping in that process.
Mhm.
So that's been life giving and that's important. I mean, that's important to really hear is that, I mean, just and shifting even from that, leveraging my time. We in all of our things that we're trying to do is really network and make connections and get to know people and all this, and you can get busy doing other things other than trying to schedule to have coffee or have lunch with someone, or do so. This She has been wonderful in doing that on my behalf and chasing down someone who, I might give up after, a couple of chances or attempts, simply because, again, you only have so much time. But she has done a marvelous job of scheduling time with people who I need to know, and I need to share the story of what we do. And so it's been, again, it's leveraging my time as well as giving me time. So, and then there's, the day-to-day operations and all the things that we do. She's added a layer of process to what we do to serve our members much better. Collecting information, sharing information, and again, being a member of C12, one of the things that we do is that we during our meetings ask for prayer requests, and we're
Mm-hmm.
asking, for them to share what's going on in their personal lives, what's going on in their business, and what's going on, in their immediate families and such as that. She's collecting all that information. She's posting that information in each forum's chat room. We are engaged in praying for those individuals and following up with them on how that's doing. There's so many things that can so easily slip through the cracks when you're caught up trying to do everything you're trying to do and juggle all the balls. She's just one that's constantly saying, "Here's the ball, don't drop it," or "Here's one that you let slip," or whatnot. So it's just making me a much more effective chair, and helping me do and deliver things that I know our members truly appreciate.
Mm-hmm. Do you think your wife can tell a difference?
Oh, absolutely. And, here's this is a sidebar, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But this is also something that's very unique. Okay? So you and I have a relationship. We've met, we've talked. You've done some things for me that I was just shocked and amazed by. But one of those things was. You invited my wife to participate in one of your online Bible studies.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and then my wife and Kristen have both connected and have talked and shared. And I mean, she's an extension of our family. You
Mm-hmm.
know, VAUSA and all this is just this. VAUSA is sort of a part of our family as well. I mean, it's just what you guys do and what you bring and how you support and how you care. Um, the one thing we haven't even talked about was, the whole onboarding process of bringing her on board, getting her engaged, and having a coach that's engaged with us during that period of time. You probably need to go back and talk with your coach a little bit, because she said that we were her first C12
Yes.
pair that she worked with,
Mm-hmm.
and she goes, "Oh my God, these people are yeah, we're both crazy." So,
No.
just the way that we interact, she goes, "Yeah, you're like my easy case and my fun case, because of just the chemistry that we have." So,
Right.
yeah, you can't. I think this is very much a God thing, because you just can't randomly pick someone or even screen people, as well as you screened and such as that. But, putting together people who work so wonderfully together, and it fits so well in all these different dynamics. I mean, that's got to be God.
Mm-hmm. No, it is. It is every day. The only way that I'm here is because of God. I taught kindergarten. I taught fourth grade. I was an elementary school teacher, and here I am stewarding this business and get to be friends with someone like you. I mean, it's amazing. So, no, it absolutely is God. Uh, if you were to give one piece of advice to someone who may be on the fence about delegating, hiring someone else, getting an assistant. And what you've described too is relief, not just for, oh, I get someone to help me on these tasks for the business, but for relief for you personally.
Hmm.
And I think that's something that a lot of people misunderstand about what we can do is it's not just I need someone to do these tasks. I need someone to be another brain for me, to be a sounding board, a accountability, a partner in knowing all the balls that I have in my court personally and professionally, because those are so intertwined for business owners.
Right.
I can't like my life and my work, there's no compartmentalizing that. It's so intertwined. So whoever's supporting me has to understand that and get that. If you were to give advice to that person, who's on the fence, what would that piece of advice be?
Get off the fence. Uh, Now, there are two things. I mean, one, I've asked you to give to me because I'm wanting to use this in a coaching thing I've got coming up this weekend. But it was a wonderful exercise that you have to go through, and you're thinking about what
Mhm,
are those things that I really I'm good at and I really enjoy doing. That's one piece. Then there's another one that okay, I'm good at this, but it's not the thing
mm,
that gets me up, and gets me charged. Then there's the I really don't like doing this, but I'm good at it. And there's that part that's like, this is stuff I really hate.
mm,
Okay. You put me through that process of thinking, right, this stuff I really hate, I don't want to do. And I usually end up spending way more time than is necessary to get those things done.
mhm.
First, because I procrastinate to do those things. And secondly, it's just tedious stuff that
And maybe
that's
you're
not really
not even good
required.
at it, yeah. Mm,
Yeah. So, that's the first thing I would do with somebody sitting on the fence is kind of go through that exercise and figure out you're doing stuff that you really hate.
mhm, mhm.
Okay. Um,
That takes
it's like,
slowing down. A lot of people don't even wanna do that step because they are like, "I'm too busy to even slow down to do that." Like, "Okay, well, it's not
well,
gonna
it's like
improve."
Patrick Lencioni's book, or his process about working geniuses. A lot of us can get stuck working in our frustrations.
That's right.
Okay. And I think that's a key element here of that bottom box of the things that you don't like. These are your working your frustrations. So
Mhm.
if you've got a box full of working frustrations, stop
Yep,
it.
yep.
Okay. The other thing is that coaching exercise I said earlier that I went through with financial advisors of tracking their time and spending where they're
Mhm,
seeing where they're spending their time and thinking about the highest and best use of their time. And
mm,
if you're making 100, 200, 300, $500 an hour, whatever your hourly rate, it doesn't matter. But if you are spending time doing 20 or $30 hour work, then again, stop it. I mean, there's an easy fix here,
mhm,
and that is hiring someone who fills in those gaps and
mhm.
allows you that time back to do
And
things.
love doing those types of things
Absolutely,
and are good
absolutely.
at it. Yeah.
So that's that discernment process that you got to go through, and just if you're sitting
Mhm,
on the fence thinking about it, just think about the time that you get back to do things that you really enjoy, whether it's work related or whether it's outside of work, personal
mhm,
related, such as that. The time is your most valuable asset. And
mhm,
so why would you sit there and waste it?
mhm. Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that I ask people is, um, are you dating your spouse regularly? And if the answer is no, then, well, maybe, like, we start there. You're carving out that time, and we've had assistance, in these dialogues and in these conversations because we're not just, "Okay, what do you want to do for the business?" It's, "Where do you wanna be spending your time? Where are you spending your time now? And how do you wanna spend your time in the future?" And your assistant is gonna help facilitate that change. And if you say, "My priority is my health, my walk with God, and my marriage," but your schedule is not reflecting what you say your priorities are, then, like, let's start there. what can we do to get you to where you say your priorities are, and in your heart of hearts that needs to take priority, but you're not doing it. And your assistant becomes like a guardian of your time, a great protector. My assistant, her name's Kelsey. She's worked with me for over 3 years now. She keeps me honest, and she is a buffer for people wanting my time, because I'm always going to say yes. I love to work. Recovering, workaholic, I guess is what you call me. I love to work and I enjoy what I'm doing so much, but I can burn out, just like anyone else, and I can ignore other things that need my attention. So, but she knows what healthy looks like for me, and she'll be a buffer and help protect me even from myself, because she knows that I struggle with saying no, to
Hmm.
things. And I'll say yes and give my time away so freely when I really need to be more intentional and diligent about it. So,
Right, and exactly what you said is an important element. Protecting you from yourself, because we can be our own worst enemies, and they can be a nice nagging, you know. So,
yeah.
but I mean, it is, you're putting time on the calendar specifically to do something, and like you said, they're being very protective of it. They're helping you and reminding you
Mhm.
of keeping those things important, such as that. And speaking of dating, your spouses, today is the end of the month of January. This is the first day that the outside temperatures have been above 60 degrees. And my wife and I actually have, planned to take the afternoon to go hit golf balls. So
That's
that's,
awesome.
and that,
That's amazing.
that wouldn't happen without having someone that's back there making sure that everything that needed to happen has happened, and anything that needs to have attention if I'm gone is being taken care of.
Mhm. Yep. Well, Scott, thank you so much for your time, um and just for being such a good friend and loyal. And also, I want to be clear, we we are just very careful with who we are working with. And you are just an incredible example of the caliber of person, that we want to work with and that we want to serve. You truly have a servant's heart, and you lead your assistant with love, and and just incredible leadership and with a pure heart. And I just thank you for being such a wonderful person to serve. You make it a joy. And from all of our team, just thank you.
Well, thank you, and I can't thank VAUSA enough for what they've done to help us to get us together, to make sure that we're working and as well as we've worked together, and just for your continued support. And it's been an absolute blessing. So thank you, and thank you, all for what you do.